Hey, welcome on back. We're in the reckoning. It is hour number 2, and we're going to forego our typical, this is when we go weather, traffic, and all things related, just like normal radio people, right? Right? No, we're going to skip that because we're just going to go straight to the heart of Missouri politics. Oh, and a flying microphone. And upcoming, I've got Representative Justin Sparks in here with me from Wildwood, sitting down with me. And Sunday night, you decided to put out a little video that got a lot of attention. You've decided to enter the race for Speaker in the upcoming Missouri legislature. January 8th, you said, is when everyone gets sworn in. So, I really appreciate you coming in, Justin, because we've had a chance to talk a little bit with the lifetime issue, your race, obviously, for re-election, which you won. But this is different. This is the leadership race here in Missouri, which we've all been focused on at the Senate level,
Right.
or at the federal level in the Senate and the House both this week. Well, guess what, folks? It gets a whole lot more local. And it's about to. So what prompted you to do this? And just give us a synopsis, if you would, of why you decided to run for Speaker.
Sure.
And then we'll dive into how that exactly is going to line up between now and January 8th.
Sure, absolutely. Thank you for having me on. You mentioned I did that video, and it has just set off a earthquake in politics. And some of the backlash has been coming from my own party, because what I'm saying is we are the party in power, and some of the things I'm saying is we need to change the way that we do things, because we serve the people and not the party, and that's really my message. So basically what has happened is there is our speaker apparent, the speaker-elect, if you want to call him, has been selected through an informal caucus vote a year ago, without the freshman class of legislators that just won their election, and they have selected him as the speaker informally. But he's not the Speaker of the House. We actually elect him in January. We have the vote in January when we get sworn in for the speaker, and this person's name is John Patterson, and he is a person. So we have to address John Patterson as the man, but we also have to address the system that gave us the man. And because both are equally in need of change. And what we have to actually do is unite the Republican Party under the ideas of what it means to be a Republican and those policies that will do those big Republican things for the Republicans that voted us into office.
Right.
Here's what I mean by that. So John Patterson voted against the SAFE Act, which prohibits transgender surgeries on minors. John Patterson voted he negotiated a 5-year sunset clause for Senate Bill 39 that prohibited men in women's sports. John Patterson made comments about not wanting to address Amendment 3. John Patterson blocked legislation that would have given us an alternative to Amendment 3 on the ballot. And he even told other caucus members, other Republicans, to not even speak about that in private caucus meetings, or they would be punished. And you have to ask yourself why. And then finally, John Patterson blocked Second Amendment legislation repeatedly. But when it came to initiative petition reform, which we got to the end of the line last year, just like every year, year after year after year, the number one Republican priority in the state of Missouri is to reform the way that we change our Constitution. And it failed again. And he was the only Republican in the House side that voted against it. And that is the exact reason that Amendment 3 passed. Because if we had passed initiative petition reform, by the numbers, Amendment 3 wouldn't have passed in Missouri. And we wouldn't be having this conversation.
Right.
So that's John Patterson, the man. What's the system that gave us the man? It's the system of purchasing positions of power. And this has been going on for a very long time. This happens in U.S. Congress. And you have to ask yourself, okay, to put this into perspective for you, when I first got elected, this is what used to happen. I'm sure, hopefully they're changing it because I'm talking about it. When I first got there, you go into a conference room for lunch, and there's an envelope at your desk, at the chair for you with your name on it, and you open it up. I open it up, and there's a little card inside. It said $20,000. Okay. That's what I was expected to give the House Republican Campaign Committee in order to be considered for committee positions chairmanships, or one day future leadership. And that's what they told me explicitly. And it made me very uncomfortable because of my background in law enforcement. I just thought, my gosh, what a corrupting process of introducing large amounts of money for positions of power. I think everybody can see logically why that would be a bad thing, right? It's not bad to raise money to get Republicans elected. You need to raise money. Of course you do.
Yeah, it takes money.
Yeah, it takes money to run campaigns, for heaven's sakes. They're not free. But it's the way of introducing money in direct, explicit exchange for, well, okay, so I want to be a chairman of the General Laws Committee. Well, how much money have you given? I mean, those conversations, that is exactly how the conversation goes. And so when you don't have safeguards and guardrails in place, then here's why I'm doing what I'm doing. What that eventually becomes is just straight up open bribery and extortion. It's not that right now, but that's the road we're on. And how do I know this? Just look at history. Every party that's in complete power, I'm from St. Louis County. Democrats run St. Louis County. Well, the county executive went to prison for this stuff. Like, this is what eventually happens. The power corrupts totally, and then you get indicted, you have scandal, and your party eventually loses the will and support of the people, and then you lose the majority. And I think that we have to intervene now and have a real gut check moment as Republicans and say, let's go back to a meritocracy, a merit-based system of the best people being in the positions that they're best at because of their background and experience. And let's learn how to raise money differently and put some guardrails in place. And it's real simple. The representatives in January can push a button and can support somebody that reflects our values of Missourians and representatives, or you can just continue to vote for the system that's in place and go down this road, which eventually leads to us losing.
Yeah. And I by the way, you said at the beginning that this is not official yet, but this is, I think, a key interesting part of this. There has not even been an unofficial caucus vote because you all have been meeting since the election, right? There've been, I know the Senate right now, Senate Republicans are away somewhere in southern Missouri. Everyone's talking, as a caucus. There hasn't been even an informal vote over who the consensus for speaker is with this new incoming legislature, has there been?
And there won't be.
This is a year old.
Yeah,
right?
there won't be, and that's on purpose.
And that's the thing. A third of the House? Did I get that? It's close to a third of the House are freshmen.
Yes, I think 55 members.
50,
and they don't get a say for who the speaker would be until the official vote in January.
That's where I look at this and say that anyone who wants to say, and I'm honestly, I'm going to reach out to John Patterson too and let him give a chance to talk, because I appreciate so much what you're saying, because it's not just, that we've heard already, this is sore losers over Amendment 3 and pro-lifers, this and that. No, what you're saying is more than that. What you're saying to me is there's a system to be broken, and I think that if there's anything in this moment where we've just all installed Republican leaders up and down, good stuff in Missouri, we put Donald Trump back to the White House, there's a moment to look and say, we're ready to change the system. The system is corrupt. And I think it would be foolish for us to not take the very hard look here in Missouri, and that, to me, is what you're describing a whole lot more, and I think that's an important message that resonates with people. But more than that, a third of the House that supposedly, or that is coming in this coming year, didn't get a say in what supposedly is, we've all settled nothing.
I know.
There's a third of them that still need to come in. I think that's a very key point that we're going to talk about. But I want to ask you a little more. I know we're about to hit a break, so I won't get into a big topic yet, but I want to ask you how this works, because rubber meets the road. Politics takes relationships. And that's a big one I know that's coming up for you. So I want to find out what you're doing. And the reality is a lot of people are going to, Justin Sparks is just raising his own profile by this. So I want to find out what you're doing. By the way, I have to admit, before we go to break, I accidentally said Jordan Sparks at least once last time. I'm an elder millennial. I knew it was going to come out sooner or later. I was like, no offense, Justin. I've known that name a lot longer than I have yours. But no, I want to get your take on this because, or I want to get some action items from you on this, because I think even if, no matter what direction this goes, this is an extremely healthy conversation that needs to be had inside the Missouri legislature. Because what we're all upset about, we the people of Missouri, is that there is a system that keeps perpetuating itself. And even though there's a lot of good things that happens, it's a lot less stalemated than the U.S. Congress. We still initiative petition reform. Stop saying that if you're not going to do something about it. And year after year, it doesn't get done. And all of a sudden, we've got stuff in our Constitution that ought not be there. Folks, we hear the music. I'm going to take a quick break, and we'll be back. Representative Justin Sparks, not Jordan, Justin for all you music fans. Justin Sparks with us here in studio. We'll be back in a moment. Hey, we're back on The Reckoning, talking with Representative Justin Sparks. That's Justin. I'm going to harp on that a little bit because I feel terrible. I knew it was coming eventually. I was going to have the wrong name. Justin Sparks, running now, not just one-year election for representative over in Wildwood, running now for Speaker of the House when that comes in January. And it's not just a personal motive, as we've just been talking about. There is a system-wide change you see that needs to happen. And I just, we've had so much. The federal levels just suck the wind out of all media and all attention online. And in this case, I'm actually glad for it. Because what you're describing, what are the priorities as the next leader of the House of Representatives in Missouri? Is it how much money you've raised and what you've done scratching other people's backs, or is it about what you've done for your values and your the people who sent you there? This is an age-old conversation, and honestly, it's one that we just saw play out. I know a lot of folks, most of you listening in Missouri too, were paying attention to the potential race for Senate majority, the GOP leader, soon to be the majority leader in the U.S. Senate. And there's a conversation about the choice between two guys, a little bit different personalities, but both of them running on the same thing. I've been here. I've done this. It's my turn. I've raised a lot of money for the party. And then a Rick Scott who said, no, it's about the agenda and the issues, and I'm going to do that better. We just had this conversation, and it's really the same conversation to be having on the state level. Well, which one do you value? And then which of these people who is running for leader of the whatever chamber it is, who's representing one or the other? So this should be front and center in our minds right now, having just witnessed this, because that's the thing. What, John Thune and John Cornyn? Well, they big party leadership. They helped get a lot of people elected, and they stood up for the values that they said they would, and their constituents sent them for or not. Now we get a chance to do that here at the state level. So let me ask you, I mean, like I said, stuff's been levied against you, Justin, that, well, this is just to raise your profile. You don't really have a chance. You're going against the established candidate.
Yeah.
Are you getting out there, talking to, calling, texting everyone of your colleagues coming in? Are you actually working to make this happen, or is this a stunt?
A stunt. If it's a stunt, it's a super dumb stunt, because what I'm doing is extremely destructive to my own personal career. It just is. That's why nobody ever does this, because the retribution and the revenge is swift. And but I count the cost, because on one hand, are you going to hurt your personal career by doing this in politics in Missouri? 100%, yes, especially if you lose. And you lose friends, too, because friends that have been promised things by the current regime and the regime that's going to ascend to power, they would like to keep those things. They have aspirations and ambitions. And so I don't make this decision lightly. To say that I'm raising my profile, I don't really have a profile. I would just, if you really do know me, you know that I don't desire position or power. What I do desire is, if I'm going to be in the House of Representatives, which is a life of sacrifice, by the way, because you don't make very much money, you spend time away from your family, have lots of young kids, then I want to be doing something worthy. And I want to be passing legislation and policies that actually reflect the will of the voter, not like my constituents, and not just have the term representative behind my name, because I just don't care. I really don't. It's, by the way, guys, it's not that cool. Okay, from looking on the outside, it really isn't. And so, what do I mean by that? So I was sent some text message screenshots today of a representative out in the St. Charles County area, in which somebody had reached out, had heard me speaking, and said, "Hey, I'd like you to support Justin Sparks. He's conservative. The other guy's not, and the other guy has made these horrible decisions. Doesn't endorse Trump. Refuses to endorse President Trump. And I want you to support Justin." And this representative, this is the first response: "What has Justin done for the party?" Now, when I saw that, I cringed. I was like, "Oh, that's exactly why we're having this conversation. That is exactly why I needed to run, because we don't serve the party. We serve the people." Here's what I mean by that. She made the case that John Patterson has raised a bunch of money. This exact thing that you've heard in the U.S. Senate leadership races, you hear this over and over and over again. He's raised a bunch of money to help Republicans get elected. Great. So Republicans get elected, and they get to put the name honorable representative by their title. But then you have the strongest person in the House of Representatives that works actively to kill all the legislation that you care about. But you get to get elected. Great. So which one's more important? Getting elected or passing policies that actually reflect what the people want? Passing policies that they sent you to Jefferson City to get passed. See, when you say we serve the people, you either actually believe it or you're serving yourself. We serve the people, and the policies are what matters. And you're like, well, we have to get elected. We've got 111 Republicans, a supermajority. We have plenty of Republicans, and we will continue to get elected if we do what the people want us to do. See, that's what's most important. That's more important than raising money and raising money for Republicans to get elected and then killing all the legislation that they want to do. The majority of Republicans want to do certain things. They want to protect the unborn. They want to protect our Second Amendment rights. They don't want children castrating themselves as children, right? They don't want transgender surgeries paid by taxpayers. These are very basic Republican ideals. The fact that we're even having this conversation blows my mind. We're talking about electing a man who will be adverse and in opposition to all of the Republican Party platform ideals, not only by what he says, it's by what he's done. It's his own votes. I didn't ask him to vote this way. Like, people are like, well, I don't care, guys. Ask him why he voted that way. Ask him why he blocked legislation that Republicans support. Ask him, why are these men doing these things? In my opinion, in the old grand conspiracy world, it's because liberal special interest donors want people like that in power so that they kill conservative legislation. That's the truth. So they pour tons of money into people like him so that he will be in a position of power to squish anything good that the Republicans want to do, reflecting the will of the Republican voters in this state. That's how it works. It's a way to keep Republicans from doing Republican things. You just elect leadership that's liberal. Sorry, I know it's an inconvenient conversation because you're right. We were talking during the break. There's personal relationships that form, right? People have personal relationship with John Patterson. You got to call these guys and be like, I get it, man. I get it, but I'm asking you, just look outside the building. Look outside the institutionalization of the House of Representatives and the system that's been in place for so long that you think is just impossible to turn on its ear. It's not. You push a button in January, we change the rules, and in day one, we stop paying for chairmanships and committee positions, and we put people in those positions that are actually, based on their merit, because they're good at their job, right? Remember that concept, people? And that's all it will take. But enough people have to hear from the people, the people, we the people, in order to say, okay, I'm going to do the right thing.
Yeah.
Sadly, just relying on people to do the right thing because it's the right thing to do, it's very difficult.
Representative Justin Sparks, remind people where they can follow you on social media as this plays out.
SparksForMissouri.com, Sparks for Missouri on Instagram, Justin M. Sparks on X and Facebook.
There you go. People over politics, and certainly principle over party. I think that's what I always say. Justin, we wish you all the best. Appreciate you coming in.
Thanks, brother.
Absolutely. We'll be back, folks. Quick break.
Coming in hot. Just like the fajita.